Alright, hello Spanish 1050, my name is Christian Pavlik, and for my video presentation I will be talking about the Gabriel Garcia Marquez. As some of you might know, he was a famous author from from Colombia actually to be exact, and I would just want to take this time to share some more information about himself, just in case some of you might not know. So in this presentation, I will be providing more information about Mr. Gabriel Garcia Marquez. Like I said, he was an extraordinary Colombian author who was even once called the greatest Colombian who ever lived. Throughout his great career, he won many awards. I will actually be going into more detail about that later in the presentation. Some aspects I would like to talk about for him would be I want to talk about his early life, some awards he achieved, of course, some various other points in his life, and how all this, his whole career, kind of opened up the world's eyes to Latin American authors and also their culture as well, because his work did exactly that. So, talking about his earlier life, he's actually Gabriel is actually known as Gabo, and he was born March 6, 1927, in Arataca, Colombia. I probably butchered that. In his first 8 years, he lived with his parents and his maternal grandparents. But after his grandfather's death, he moved to Barranquilla. I hope I said that correctly. um, um, he received a better than average education, but throughout, well, later he told as an adult, and for most all of his stories, his most important sources were stories about his birth home, birthplace, and about the stories his family told him. His novels kind of were based off everything he's seen and done in his life, and that's why I kind of imagine where it's important, since his stories are based off things he's experienced and seen. That's how people would be able to get a better glimpse of the Latin American culture and understand what he's seen and what he's been through and what could be happening in Latin America. Fun fact, he actually originally studied law and then he became a journalist, which is where his career actually began. Some notable literary works of his. Leaf Storm was actually his first novella, and it took 7 years for a publisher to actually publish this, being his first story. As I said before, he's had a lot of great novels, novellas, just a lot of stories in general that were good, or amazing, I should say. But the story that skyrocketed his career would definitely be 100 Years of Solitude. Ooh, sorry. Some other key noteworthy novels that he had were Autumn of the Patriarch, The Incredible and Sad Tale of Innocent Iridira and Her Heartless Grandmother, and The Chronicle of a Death Foretold. And that's just to name a few, but there's plenty of more. Quite a bit more. And to go back, the 100 Years of Solitude was actually a story that was based off his grandparents' house where he grew up. So, as you can, a kind of a common theme you see in his works is something that impacted him during his life. Some awards, and coming back from what I said earlier, on December 8th, 1982, Gabriel won the Nobel Prize in Literature. And as many people know, the Nobel Prize is a very prestigious award, and for him, and the reason when he was presented the award, it was for his novels and short stories in which the fantastic and the realistic are combined in a richly composed world of imagination, reflecting a continent's life and conflicts. So by that means he won a Nobel Prize in Literature because he was able to show how the continent's culture, essentially, and how realistic and well fantastic it was, and how he's able to paint a picture of how Latin America is and what even some of the conflicts were in Latin America, and that's just how showing the world off to it, and to have such an impact about that is just amazing. He was actually the first Colombian to win a Nobel Prize in Literature and the fourth Latin American to win the Nobel Prize for Literature. Another award he won was in 1972 he won the Neustadt International Prize for Literature, which some say it is a very prestigious award, and some say it's almost there with the Nobel Prize in Literature. So that's very impressive to say at least, that he's won so many great rewards throughout his literary career. And I kind of want to reflect on the passing, because he is no longer with us. Actually, he died of pneumonia at the age of 87 on April 17th, 2014 in Mexico City. Once he passed, actually the Colombian president Juan Santos said, 100 years of solitude and sadness for the death of the greatest Colombian of all time. Now, for the president of Colombia to come out and say he was the greatest Colombian of all time really speaks volumes of what his work did for the country. And the former Colombian president Alvaro Velez said, Master Garcia Marquez, thanks forever. Millions of people in the planet fell in love with our nation, fascinated with your lines. Again, for a former president to mention that how millions of people fell in love with a nation because of his literary works is just mind-boggling, and it just shows how his works affected everyone that's read his work and everyone in the nation. Just to bring up a conclusion, Gabriel Garcia Marquez will always be known as a fantastic author, and his works will be remembered throughout history. With his upbringings and achievements, he has opened up the world to Latin American culture and storytelling. Having such a big audience, be able to spread the word of your family and your heritage and where you kind of grew up, and it gives people more of an idea of what Latin America is, what it truly is. And that's what authors kind of want to do. They want to paint a picture in people's minds. And I believe Gabriel was trying to accomplish this. He was trying to show the world what his culture and heritage really was. And I believe he accomplished that very easily. Well, not easily. It took a lot of work, but his message was received greatly. And right now I have a video that I'd like to show off. It was like a memorial video about him, so enjoy.